He was aware of time stuttering back into motion just before they struck the vehicle. Warat was there, and then she wasn't. Her body tensing, muscles contracting before she seemed to fly directly up as though launched from an ejector seat. Dave, who wasn't ready and who didn't jump, saw the yellow cab move suddenly. Not toward him, but across his field of vision as they dropped out of warp and the world transitioned from stasis to movement without the slightest lurch of inertia. He heard screams and the honking of horns. He heard the crunch of metal on metal and had time enough to realize that it wasn't the bike hitting the taxi. And then the bike hit the taxi anyway, and he was thrown into the sky and over the roof. Everything slowed again, but not with the strange temporal distortion of whatever magic powered his ability to warp time. It was that purely subjective, deeply human experience of his senses coming fully alive. The same way perfectly normal people recalled time slowing down in a car crash or some other banal, non-mystical catastrophe. The simple biological quickening of a nervous system flooded with neurotransmitters. Dave hit the accelerator, thinking to stop his flight, but of course that merely stopped the world around him, and he flew on just as quickly as before. He grunted in agony as his vision pixelated and his brain seemed to press painfully against the inside of his skull. What the fuck? He dropped out of warp, and the pixelation and the pain receded immediately. He saw the cab shunted sideways by the force of the Honda striking it, but the larger vehicle did not shear in two or fly apart as he'd half expected. The windows exploded outward in a shower of safety glass, and he heard more screams. At least he wasn't spinning, tumbling end over end, but his flight was uncontrolled, and he could see he was going to hit the asphalt and bowl over half a dozen people. Even though Warat was spinning and tumbling, she looked like a gymnast executing a routine. She spun once, twice, and landed on the road, boots thudding down and knees flexing as she dropped into a shoulder roll and came up with her sword drawn. And Trinder expected me to kick her ass? Dave shook off the thought as his own landing fast approached, uncontrolled, undignified, and dangerous. Without any of the Russian's skills or native grace, he simply tucked himself around Lucille in a ball and swore as he hit the road surface and felt his shoulder break. Again. The pain was huge but dull, as it always was now, and was washed away almost immediately in the bathing warmth of endorphins and whatever magic fucking fairy bots coursed through his bloodstream to make good broken bones and torn flesh. He felt the muted impact of those unfortunate enough to be caught in his path as he landed among them. He tried to close his mind to the muffled cries and startled shouts and one sickly snapping sound that had to be somebody's leg breaking. There was nothing to be done for them. Not yet. He knew from Lucille's battle hymn filling all his secret places that the horde was upon them. But where was Warat? Dave climbed to his feet, muttering apologies and cringing at the sight of the 8 people he'd just knocked down. One of them, an old woman in a bloody headscarf, wailed and clutched at a leg that was bent all wrong at the knee. He struggled to reconcile the banal with the bizarre. A Gap Kids store, the Walgreens on the opposite corner, neon lights and giant posters for Stephen Colbert's Late Show and Amazon's Man in the High Castle, gunshots cracking out ahead of him, muted only slightly by the roar of the fleeing mob, a dead fanger, cleanly decapitated, midnight dark demon ichor pulsing from its neck stump. More shots, fired rapidly but singly. Not the automatic weapons fire he'd grown used to, or thought he had, in Omaha and New Orleans. Probably cops and probably only 2 of them. He was about to punch the accelerator when somebody else did. Warat, of course. The crowd stopped. The screams and honking horns and general chaos died away to that familiar distant rumble and hiss. But his vision fell apart in broken pixels and slashes of corrupted data. The pain, the iron fist squeezing his head from the inside, was back, and his hunger... The bubble popped, and all around him chaos and human madness surged back into motion. The uproar of thousands of voices hammered and clawed at his ears, frantic, horrified, unbelieving. Dave was buffeted and knocked off balance, almost losing his footing in the surging tide of the terror-struck mob. He tried one last time to pause the world, and failed. The pain and blinding disorientation